So I emailed my something last night to do a video on basically, this whole, remember the date, you know what I mean, of 9/23 or whatever, I said, I want my money back, nothing happened, whatever. So this is kind of interesting. And if someone posted this at Godlike Productions, but they made up there's some good points here. They're not made up, but they made some good points about this. And they mentioned somebody that I remember listening to the interview years ago. The guy's name is Dr. Law Violette, who, he's got some scientific credentials, if you will. And he was mentioning how a lot of his, not a lot, but a few of his theories are now accepted, but back in the 80s they weren't, and no one ever gave him credit for it. All these NASA scientists, of course, and he was mentioning how it's a kind of like a political game too. No one scientist wants to give another scientist credit. They want to take the credit. So even though they may have heard this from you, you're nobody. I'm the big shot NASA guy. Check this out, And he was kind of talking a little bit about that, which was interesting then. But his main thing was this theory that he's developed back then, way back, known as super wave theory. In that impulses from the center of the galaxy, our solar system goes around the galaxy in a circle, but in kind of a sine wave, or sine wave fashion. And there are key events, such as when we line up at the center on the way down, line up at the center on the way up, that we can experience some of these bursts. And they were doing ice core samples, and he got kind of the leftovers, which was fine because it still had 100,000 years or more of data, almost like tree rings. You could look at the ice cores the same way, and he would see on these specific cycles, and there was like 3 different cycles. I think it was something like every 5,000, and here's the thing, one of those cycles especially coincides with the Mayan calendar cycles, the 5,125 year cycle, whatever, the Mayan calendar thing. You would see these dark colored rings every 5,125 years or whatever, and then there's another one like every 12 or something thousand years. Then there's the main, like the equinox, the 26,000 year cycle precession of the equinox. We go through all the signs in the sky, so to speak. There was that too, something like that. There's 3 of them. And he said each and every time we would find this little darker ring of ice. And Carrie Cassidy at the time, from Project Camelot, asked him, okay, well, the 2012 date's coming up, because this was many years ago, like 2009 or 10. And she says, well, about the 2012 thing, I'm sure, is your data suggesting that any day now, the next cycle or whatever should hit us, whatever this is from space that causes the ice to get dark, particles, whatever, coming in from space? Which he said they determined that because they're only available out in space and they come to the planet. So when they found them in these ice core samples, they knew it was something that was happening out in space, hitting our planet, etc. And he said, well, there is a error range of about 400 or so years. It is just because it is what it is. But having said that, yeah, we're due for one right now. So I thought that was very interesting back in that time. And I've mentioned this a few times throughout my days on YouTube. Not any time, and even kind of recently, I don't think. So anyway, this is that guy. Superwave theory, right? And that's what he says. This kind of a superwave, if you will, comes from the center of the galaxy in these little pulses. As we line up with the center of the galaxy and then go back down, then back up, same thing happens. But that takes, 12,000 years, or whatever it is, to do one, then go back down and then up and do the other one, or whatever. Or maybe, I guess it's 5,001 year does it too, because he said there was 3 cycles. But he said if his theory is right, he said, we should see an uptick in like earthquake, volcanic activity, that kind of thing, which would precede the actual superwave hitting us, so to speak. That was his theory. So, we've had these earthquakes recently, we've had volcanic eruptions, and as I sent this to myself, I already emailed myself, but I said right after that, oh wait, they're evacuating an island right now because of a volcano that's active. They're trying to get 50,000 or 70,000 something people. They're running to like the corners of the island where it's the safest. So I'm adding that now to you just to tell you, And I know you've already heard about the earthquakes in Mexico recently, other volcanic activity happening across the planet. It's just been very active. So, is this guy onto something? However, 923 date, and they mention in here, which you'll see in a second, 923 and 930 date. I'm not aware of the 930 date, to be honest with you. September 30th. I wasn't aware of that little window or whatever. I knew all about 923. It was in the movies and all that stuff, but 930? Not really sure what that one's about, but again, it's within a few days, right? I mean, anyway, so someone writes this in Godlike Productions. Gamma ray burst volley may signal a galactic superwave inbound. 7 GRBs in 24 hours, and that is I think it's gamma ray bursts. 7 gamma ray bursts in 24 hours. Now, we've had some bursts in the past, but not over a day period, that many. Which is interesting, that it's only happened now. Having said that, though, we haven't exactly been monitoring for these things very long either. So, go figure. Anyways, I will try to make this short and sweet. It's a 50-50 chance that these 7 gamma ray bursts in 24 hours could mean something extremely important. I'm not an astronomer, just a citizen scientist watching the skies. Skywatcher site, which is earthboppin, boppin.net, earthboppin.net. Skywatcher site, which is that one, has reported that an unprecedented 7 gamma ray bursts from constellations at the center area of the ecliptic of the Milky Way. Now, hold on a second. That's precisely where Dr. LaViolette, years ago, about 8 years ago, said to look for. It'd be from the center of the galaxy, etc. So that's interesting. I'm just going to say that. So 7 gamma ray bursts coming from this area have been detected in the past 24 hours. They seem to be very concerned about this on Earthboppin. They are saying this is very unusual. Interesting timing for the 9/23/2017 and 9/30/2017 dates for this to show up. Maybe this was the message from the Virgo alignment, the one I kept telling you about. Virgo, the Virgin Mary, she gives birth to Jesus. No, the alignment in the sky gives birth to a star. This happens extremely rarely, thousands of years, whatever. And that was my whole take. Religious, I think it's all nonsense, honestly. It was just these stories about things of our past to pay attention to in the future, and you would need a story to remind you for a very, very, very long time out, because it was going to be a very, very, very long time out before things happened again. And as the Bible does say about, watch the, you'll know by looking at the heavens, essentially. So this is interesting. And it's very interesting that this 9/23 to 9/30 date, an unprecedented 7 happened in 24 hours. Which is like non-existent, not supposed to happen. From what they say. We'll see. So these science guys on YouTube may or may not jump on this, but I want to put this up just in case it's important. And he lists the different ones that happened, which is fine, whatever. Coincidental to the gamma ray burst volley, amateur astronomer in South California captures their images. Amateur astronomer Suri Runyon posted this on Facebook. No professional verification at this time. Also, if you think this may be an aurora, northern lights, this image capture was made in South California too low to be able to film the northern lights. This is not copyrighted photo, but I will post the exception. Anyway, so I'm going to try to just pick my phone up for you to see this, and I'll remember to link this Godlike Production site, so if you want to zoom in on the photos. Is it real? Was it Photoshop? I don't know. But supposedly this came in. And then you've got these ones down here. That was just filmed. So, photographed. And then there's this one, they say. So, special hat tip to Suri Runyon of South California for his hard work. Oh, okay, now it's Carey. Maybe they misspelled it the first time. It's Carey. For his hard work to get this image out to the public. The images above may be energy signatures related to the gamma ray burst volley we have just seen in the past 24 hours. Could be an inbound galactic superwave, right? at the very extreme candidate for what this might be. We will just need to wait for some kind of announcement. Dr. Paul LaViolette, who coined the term galactic superwave, posted on his personal blog that he expected a possible first wave for a new galactic superwave cycle to show up this year. This may be it. Note, historically, powerful gamma ray bursts have been known to cause great quakes, as well as have an excitement effect to the sun. The most powerful gamma ray burst detected in 2004 caused the Sumatra Christmas quake and tsunami that killed 240,000 around the Pacific Rim, which, by the way, was predicted in advance by the Webbot. Just want to throw that out there. Sadly, this development is not good news for Mexico or the U.S. West Coast. Astronomy buzz last few weeks was that the LIGO telescope team was about to announce they had detected an inbound gravitational wave, but nothing so far has been heard. Just 1 year ago, this thread was hosted on GLP, Godlike Productions, during another gamma ray burst volley, which was from the same area of the Milky Way galaxy. Lots of background info on gamma ray bursts here, which they post a link. Please realize that the 13 gamma ray bursts reported in that thread were over a 30-day period, not 25 hours like we're seeing right now. That is a huge difference. This thread reported the February 2016 first gravitational wave ever discovered from the USA's LIGO telescope team. Good info on gravitational waves come with gamma ray bursts. And they post another link. Just a heads up. I've hosted threads in the past posting to the incredible research done by Dr. LaViolette with regards to the galactic superwaves. His book, Earth Under Fire, is the Bible for this kind of research. The new information about the 7 gamma ray bursts as a possible symptom of an inbound galactic superwave is the first I have seen of gamma ray bursts coming from an area of space. LaViolette warns is the trajectory of past galactic superwaves, which have hit Earth, especially 7 in 24 hours in this case. His interview with the Camelot Group in 2009 below discusses what gamma ray or galactic superwaves are and what we can expect if one should impact the planet. Note that an energy signature similar to that photographed by Carrie Runyon between 9:23 and today, which was the day after, whatever, or 9:25 actually, could be such an energy signature. An EMP pulse is another symptom of an arriving galactic superwave, which would probably be blamed on North Korea, if I were to guess. So anyways, I'll post this if you want to go through it, look at some of the older links and that kind of thing. But I find this kind of stuff pretty fascinating and interesting. And unbeknownst to us, this just happened. 7 in a row, 24-hour period. It's like unprecedented, supposedly, for that many to happen that quick. And like I said, the big quake that caused the tsunami, 2004, whatever, gamma ray burst just happened. So we've got these things hitting us here recently, and we're also seeing earthquakes in Mexico twice now. The second one was worse than the first one, even though it was a smaller earthquake. We've got a volcano going off right now, like they're evacuating this island. I forget which one it is right now. I've made kind of a mental note to just talk about it. It's not the only one that's been going off. We've got new lands rising. Remember the one off the coast? All of a sudden this mile-wide island shows up out of nowhere. This is all stuff in the Webbot reports from years and years and years ago. This is all stuff in the Webbot reports. And I sent myself another video to do to say, hey, this is actually a Webbot hit. What's happening in Puerto Rico right now is like literally word for word in some of these older, worse, some of the worst Webbot reports about one of them, stinky humans, sweaty, stinky humans, being set back to a previous age. Remember that stuff? People gathering, cooking stuff. Anyone remember that report? People gathering and cooking stuff by like by the shoreline somewhere, picking up plants and roots and things and trying to cook it and little small game and all this stuff. I remember reading this stuff like, holy crap. And then I think there was even I don't know if it was Courtney Brown and his group with the remote viewing. They had a similar kind of a thing they were talking about. But that's exactly what just happened. I know in the Hell, just the shelters, emergency shelters. Talk about stinky, sweaty humans. Oh my God, I've been hearing stories about that. But forget that. Puerto Rico completely out of power. Hospitals about to run out of fuel any day now. Like probably by today or tomorrow, it's done. It's not just some power lines down. It's like literally their entire power infrastructure is down. The power company, because it was so broke, didn't have the money, the funds to fix up the power line and do basic maintenance, so it's even worse shape than you can imagine. Again, they're $70 billion in debt. Now they're about to be, we're about to bail them out. I mean, you know this, right? We're not about to let Puerto Rico just say the hell with you. You realize we're about to do a massive bailout of Puerto Rico. And don't be shocked if we sneak in the $70 billion inside the bailout package. I'm just going to throw that out there. But there are 3.6 total million people on this island. And they're running out of fuel. They're running out of everything. Looting has already started. This is from a couple days ago news, basically. What the hell is about to happen with millions of people? And yeah, we're bringing in generators and this and that, but you're not bringing in generators you're going to bring in generators to help certain areas, not 3.6 million people. And when you see how this goes in Puerto Rico, which you've already seen on some of these other islands, by the way, which are tiny compared to Puerto Rico in population-wise too. It is Mad Max scenario to the 10th power. We've had to fly in some C-130s to get some of our people out of some of these islands. This is word for word webbot stuff. Just not in America, not in a big country. It's in Puerto Rico. But when 3.6 million people are affected, that's, call it what you want, but that's still a webbot hit. And I don't think we've seen anything yet. But I kind of sent myself a little video to do, so I may focus a little more time on that later. We'll see. Take care.